One of the biggest hurdles that I had in my yoga practice when I started was straddle as a sitting position or a standing position. Using some of the tools here and some of the things that I've worked on with forest yoga and myofascial release, we'll look at some different strategies for working into your straddle posture and hopefully give you a little bit of a different feel for moving in that direction in a safe and controlled way. Enjoy. Start in a comfortable cross-legged position. Feel for aligning yourself so the skull is atop the shoulders and directly atop the sit bones. Especially if you feel really tight in the hips and you feel like you're closer to your tailbone than sit bones. Feel for rocking a little bit forwards. You can also use your hands behind you to create that little bit of initial lift, especially as we start warming up. Close your eyes, switch on your deep breathing. Make a switch into Ujjayi breathing, bringing in that whisper quality sound to your breath. Start to bring your awareness down into the low body, hips, thighs, specifically the inside of the thighs. That's going to be the basis for our practice today. Today we'll navigate a little deeper towards straddle, a pose that I know for me took many years to gain really any feel for, and my main issue was seated straddle, so the sort of seated wide leg position. There's so many different limiting factors, so inner thighs are pulling tight, the hamstrings are pulling tight, the low back is pulling tight, and I spent many years in this sort of forward reaching position. So actually today we'll be creating movement around this pose and playing with different angles and interpretations of it so that seated straddle becomes an ally. But first you need to almost curry favour with all the other straddle variations before, I would say, coming into this one. So to begin with, bring the soles of the feet into Baddha Konasana. When looking at Sanskrit, this pose, Baddha Konasana, bound angle, the pose is broken down into Baddha and Kona, and then Asana. So Baddha, bound, Kona, angle, Asana. So the pose that we're looking at today, straddle, is actually called Samakonasana. So the thighs are roughly in the same place, but same angle. So Sama, same angle pose. So essentially, work that we do in Baddha Konasana is going to pay off when it comes to the work that we're doing in straddle. If you're tighter in the hips and inner thighs or low back is rounding, move the feet simply further forwards for now. Use a hand behind you, lift the chest up, and put your left hand onto your left thigh. Your aim is to lean away from it a little bit as you do this active push down. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, squeeze the leg up against your hand, so you're getting a lot of pressure. Inhale to relax that, pressing down through the palm. Exhale, squeeze the leg up against the hand. Inhale to relax that. One more like that. Exhale, squeeze the leg up against the hand. Inhale to relax that. Change arms. Deep breath in, stretch the ribs away from pelvis. Exhale, push the leg into your hand. Press down with the hand at the same time, providing resistance and feedback. Inhale to relax that. Exhale, push leg against hand. Inhale to soften. Exhale, push leg against hand. And then inhale to soften. Bring yourself up. Take a hold of the ankles. Now in this position, I'm going to show you side on. Instead of coming forwards and rounding into the back, I'm more interested in you pulling with the arms to feel like you can get this long back and then tucking the chin. Perhaps pulling forwards is still feeling that the low back itself isn't rounding. Perhaps coming further forward still and taking the hands in front of the feet, holding the feet, or even hands beyond. If hands beyond is an option, brace your upper arms or forearms against the shins. Inhale to lift low front ribs up. Exhale, tuck the chin to help lengthen the back of the neck. I would say at this point, as it's like the second thing we're doing, focus less on depth and more using this as a check-in place. How is the back moving? How is the back speaking to the pelvis? How is the pelvis speaking to the thighs? And this is something that we can use as a check-in a wee bit later on. Depth at this point isn't massively necessary. Now in pelvis, feel for pointing your butt towards the back of the mat. Inhale, stretch ribs up. Exhale, tuck the chin but without dropping the head, so the head is still up, neck and shoulder muscles are working. Stay here but exhale through the mouth. Hold the breath for Uddiyana, so the diaphragm lifts. Hold for as long as is comfortable. Do one more Uddiyana, big exhale through the mouth. hold the breath, stretch ribs forwards and up. And then relax abdomen. Getting set up for hip mobility twist. Take the feet so they're wider than the hips, aiming for the angle of the legs to be about 90 degrees or just slightly beyond that. Use the hands behind you. So especially if you feel that you round into the pelvis and you're kind of rolling across your sacrum, hands behind is going to be great. More mobile day, cross the arms and the chest. This will require a little bit more core recruitment. Deep breath in. Exhale, send both knees to the right. Aim to get the angle of the legs polished up so they're both sitting at about 90 degrees. Push down through both legs so you feel the thighs and the buttock muscles firing up. Inhale, bring the torso and the legs through center with control. Exhale, send the knees to the left. Press down through your leg bones, lift the ribcage up. Inhale, bring knees up through center. Exhale, send knees to the right. Turn the chest around to the right. Inhale, bring knees and everything else back through middle. Exhale, send the legs left. Feet are active, feet flexing, toes spreading. Inhale, bring the knees through center. Exhale, go to the right. This time, turn the chest to the right, press down through the right leg, and then lean over it just enough you get some feedback from the buttock muscles. Inhale, lift up through center, bring the knees back through center. Exhale, send the knees to the right. Left rather. Press down through your left leg and then lean over that leg. Press down actively through the left leg so you're getting some feedback in the hip. Again, not about your maximum depth yet. Inhale, bring yourself up. Now similar deal. Work with the legs in straddle. Aim to have the legs so you're not at your absolute widest. So maybe back it up a little bit from your usual straddle depth. Now use the hands behind you. Inhale, lift chest. Exhale, roll the right thigh out to the right and the left thigh inwards. The legs will probably bend. Use your left hand to coax that left thigh around. So you're getting into that inner thigh, which can be a fiddly place to work with. Inhale, roll the legs back through center, hands are behind. Exhale, roll the legs to left. Right hand is assisting to roll that right thigh in. You might get feedback down the outside of that left leg. We're actually going to purposefully go for that. Inhale, bring the knees back through center. Exhale, lean the legs over to the right. Now this time, right knee is going to have a little bit of a bend on it. Using your hands behind or taking the arms forwards, lean over the right leg. Actively aim to roll the right foot out so the pinky edge touches down. There should be a strong sensation on the outside of the right leg. You may need to soften the left knee if that hip is jamming or if the back is jamming. Inhale to lift low front ribs up. Exhale, draw shoulder blades down and relax the neck. Perhaps you can get significant depth here. So here we are, you might feel like a pulling coming into the tendons towards the sort of lateral aspect of the leg, more so than the inside. So we're speaking to some of the parts when working in straddle really restrictive, so that's the outside of the thigh. We're going to then speak to the inside of the thigh as well as doing a lot of work for hamstrings. So just some of the strategies I use for deep straddle work. Inhale, bring yourself up, use your hands to come back through center. Endeavour to lift up onto those sit bones. Exhale, roll the legs to the left. Hands can either be behind you or take the hands either side of that left thigh. Inhale, lift left side low ribs in particular. Exhale, fold over that leg, perhaps coming down towards the elbows or using your hands behind you, whichever gives you more purchase. Inhale in a way that balloons the breath down into low belly. Exhale, pull belly muscles in and contract and lift through pelvic floor. If you're not sure what I mean, think about the tissue between your sit bones, that part lifting upwards. Pardon the hand gesture, that wasn't the most appropriate thing to do. I'm sure it's fine. Actively push down through your left leg and feel for rotating that leg. So we're still switching on the buttock muscles, aiming to get some of that awareness in the outside of the thigh. Inhale, bring the legs back through center, bringing yourself up. Now from your straddle position, bring the left foot in towards the right inner thigh. There's a lot of stuff in different practices saying you have to have the foot touching your leg. For the positioning of the hips that we're looking for, this has actually brought my pelvis around to face its leg. If I open the angle so that the legs are still speaking, it's like part Samokonasana, part Baddha Konasana, it's going to give you a really good basis, so long as you can feel that you're on both sit bones. Chances are it's going to be this right leg that is a little bit lifted. If that's the case, bend the knee and you should find you can anchor down through that sit bone, and this may be a strategy for you to work with in straddle. You might also find it slipping a block under that leg, or I could only find my cork brick this morning, maybe a rolled up blanket underneath there just to take the pressure off. Inhale to lift the right arm up, lift right ribs. Exhale, lean over the right leg, bringing the arm either to the inside of the leg, or if you feel like you're falling backwards, think of the outside of the leg and use it to create some space. Inhale, reach the left arm towards your left knee. Exhale, draw shoulders and shoulder blades down, right ear is relaxing towards right shoulder. Inhale, reach out through the right ball of the foot. Exhale, pull belly muscles in, slightly up, just to help create a little bit of lift through left side low back. If your left sit bone is lifting, go ahead and anchor that down. Be attentive to the sensations you're getting in your legs. This is stuff we can use later. Stage 2 is side bend. Inhale to bring that left arm up and over. Exhale, wrap left shoulder blade to the underarm, aiming to engage into lats and serratus. And inhale to lift those left ribs up away from the pelvis. If you feel like right ribs are coming down onto your leg, go to the inside of the leg and there may be a little bit more depth that you can navigate with. Inhale, extend both sides of the ribs towards your right foot. Exhale, spin the left palm towards the ground. Relax the neck. It doesn't mean drop your neck, but just feel for the neck being long rather than twisting to look up. There's nothing up there that's doing your neck any favors. Single leg forward bend. Take the hands either side of your right leg. Inhale to lift the left side of the ribs forwards and up. Exhale, fold over that leg. Tighten the hamstrings. Use your hands behind you to press the chest forwards, just like we did in Baddha Konasana. Thinking about the chest being lifted, chin tucking, spinal muscles are being recruited rather than this deep flex position. That right foot, actively reach out through the right foot. Now, regardless of where you're working, take the left hand to the inside of the knee. Get right in, so from the kneecap, work your way down to about a 3 o'clock and then a 4 o'clock position, and feel for pulling up on some of that tissue. So here you should be able to feel some of the bits that are pulling really tight. And I want you to go down the part, essentially at the inseam of the leg, towards the inner thigh. So getting all the way down there and basically pull that tissue upwards. So I find when I do like a little bit of myofascial work here at the start of a practice, then it creates the space that I'm looking for when I get to straddle poses. Alright, come up from there. Change legs, left leg is extending, right foot is coming in, almost thinking if this was Baddha Konasana, we've got the two poses working simultaneously. And I like thinking about poses like that. Anchor both sit bones down, so remember it might be a bend in the left knee to anchor the sit bone down. Maybe the leg is straight, but the leg is active, so reaching out through the toes. Inhale, bring left arm up. Lift left ribs. Exhale, lean over that left leg, either arm to the inside or the outside. Inhale, reach right hand towards the back of the mat. Inhale to feel for low front ribs and diaphragm lifting up away from the ground. Exhale, draw shoulders down and soften the left ear towards left shoulder. At this point, your aim is to normalize the sensations in the pelvis while stretching the neck. Breathe in a way that moves your abdomen. Stage 2, side bend. Inhale to bring the right arm up and over. Exhale, wrap right shoulder blade to the underarm, palm is spinning towards the floor. Be honest if the right side of your pelvis is lifting, anchor it down. Inhale, lift right side ribs up. Exhale, pull low belly muscles in. Now, if you feel like left ribs are touching left thigh, there may be a little bit more purchase for you here to bring the ribs down closer to the leg. If all that's done is round you, or you've brought your arm in front of your face, it isn't quite the same creature. Inhale to lift left side, so that's the underside, up away from your pelvis. Exhale, wrap right shoulder and use activity in that shoulder to help lift ribs away from pelvis. Single leg forward bend. Exhale, take the hands down either side of that leg. Square the chest, not so much the pelvis. I know this is creating an oppositional stretch in the lower back, so one side more than the other, but it's not such a bad thing. Inhale to lift low front ribs up. Exhale, pull belly muscles in, coming into the fold rather than rounding, perhaps using hands behind the pelvis. Actively reach the left ball of the foot towards the front of the mat. wherever that foot happens to be pointing. Front, back, left, right become quite irrelevant when you're following a video class. Take the right hand to the inside of the leg. So this time working down from the inside of the knee, coming down, and then just below that. So again, like that, like 4 o'clock timing, or this side is going to be like 8 o'clock. And then start pulling up on that. So you should be able to feel like the ligament, the tendon, sorry, to the inside of the knee, and beginning to lift that up as you start to feel it into the muscle that you're pulling up on, and just starting to free up the tension. You can get like all the way up towards the inner thigh. So you're almost pulling up and allowing the muscle to lay itself back down once the fingers have kind of slid past it. I know for me this area gets super sticky, and even in like standing forward bends, pulls pretty tight. Alright, then come up from there. Bring the feet back into Baddha Konasana. Now with Baddha Konasana, if you know that you've been trained to have your feet in super close to your pelvis, this is one way of doing the pose. To get into the places to the outside of the legs, it can be curious to take the feet forward as long as pinky edge is still together. Not that you'll explode if the pinky edge isn't together, but I just think that the positioning that we're looking to get into, this is going to be a bit more useful. Use your hands behind you. Resist sliding your butt forwards, but aim to get from tailbone towards sit bones. Inhale, lift chest. Exhale, press the chest forwards. So maybe you're getting that similar sensation to the outside of the legs. If possible, bring the arms forwards. If this is a familiar place for you, explore putting your feet onto the block. Arms go underneath the legs and hold the block, so you get that pulling action in the chest. So this is something that I find useful in forward bends. If you can get a hold of something, it's one of the reasons I love aerial, instead of being in this rounded position, you can pull and physically lengthen. Using the lats, pulling back on the arms, rhomboids are working, shoulders are doing a lot of work, and then articulating the pelvis by sticking the butt out. Tuck the chin to help lengthen the back of the neck, and allow yourself simply to sense where you are at now with the straddle and the Baddha Konasana shapes and the sensations in the legs with some of the mobility work that we've been doing so far. Not too dissimilar to some of the stuff you would do in the start of a forest class. Inhale, come up. Moving for some abdominals. During this abdominal, if you feel like there's a lot of pressure in the hips or you can't quite articulate the pelvis into that tucked tailbone up, do this with the feet flat against the wall. Pelvis stays on the ground but can articulate so the tailbone tucks up. Otherwise, lay down. Bring the knees up so the knees are above the hips, legs are bent 90 degrees. Open the knees wide, so here we are working that sort of inner thigh relationship, so it's not too far away from that Baddha Konasana. Shins are parallel to one another and to the floor. Actively turn the feet towards the ground so you feel butt muscles switching on. Elbows come in close to the sides of the head. Inhale, lift head and shoulders up, press pelvis down. Exhale, curl, tailbone up, lift shoulder blades up, pull abdomen down. Inhale, uncurl the tailbone, feet active. Exhale, curl, tailbone up, reach thigh bones away from pelvis, belly pulls down. Inhale, uncurl tailbone. Exhale, curl tailbone up, reach thighs away from pelvis, curl pubic bone towards low ribs, pull belly down. Inhale, uncurl tailbone, lift the shoulders up even more, lift off the shoulder blades, deep breath. Exhale, curl tailbone up, reach thighs away from pelvis, pull belly down. Inhale, lay head down. Use your hands on your thighs. Push the thighs towards the front of the room. If you've got your feet on the wall, this is still doable, so it's a little bit of a back traction. Inhale deeply. Exhale, curl the tailbone up, head and shoulders are down. Use your hands to draw thighs away from pelvis, pull belly down. Inhale, uncurl tailbone. Exhale, curl tailbone up. Use your hands to draw thighs away from pelvis, pull belly down. Inhale, relax that. Use your hands. Bring the knees in towards one another, they might feel a wee bit tenderized. Right foot goes onto the mat. Bring the left knee in towards your chest and then take the knee to the outside so it's closer to your underarm for half dead bug. Arm comes to the inside of the leg but holds the outside edge of the foot. Press the foot into the hand and then extend the right leg forwards. Inhale, tuck the chin to help lengthen the back of the neck. Exhale, reach the right ball of the foot forwards and press the left foot up into your hand. So here we are getting into that part that you were tugging on. Press the foot into the hand. If you feel like this is a lot for the back of the leg, closing off that angle is going to give you a little less in that hamstring. Some of you might be able to work the leg just slightly beyond that 90-degree bend, depending on where you're tight, where it needs the work just now. Simply pay attention to the sensations that you can create in the legs. So in my practice, I'm never really aiming to get a pose, but more exploring what's happening on the way there. So while I might choose straddle as one of the poses that I'm wanting to work on, it's about the experiences in the poses there, rather than thinking I have to nail straddle that day. Release that leg, change legs. Right leg is coming in, left foot is down, arm is to the inside of the leg but the outside of the foot, bringing the knee down. Now if you're tight in the back, pelvis will try and come up from the floor, press the pelvis down and then reach out through that left leg. Inhale, press the right foot up against your hand. Exhale, pull down with your arms, shoulders away from the ears, and then tuck the chin. Left leg is reaching actively. Now this is essentially like a lunge position on the back. So if you know that lunge is bothersome for your knees, take it to the back. Maybe you're working with the angle a little shorter, so a more acute angle. Some of you may be working a little bit more of an obtuse angle. Just be aware of how this changes the conversation with your legs. Release that leg. If you're using a block, you're going to be taking that on the tall setting underneath your pelvis for bridge. If you are not using a block, you can do this without. It's just incredibly challenging for your legs. Hands can support the pelvis, or your straddle can support the pelvis. We'll see what happens. Set the feet hip distance and parallel for bridge. Tuck tailbone, lift the pelvis up, and then take that block underneath your sacrum. Once it's there, if it's too high, you can always flip it down to the next level, or just maneuver and see what needs to happen. Press down into your left foot, bring the right knee into your chest. Inhale, lift backwards away from the ground. Exhale, work that right leg a little bit straighter. Now rather than the leg being straight up, hold it and bring the leg in towards your chest. Then gradually extend out through that leg so you can get some feedback in the back of the leg. Inhale, lift ribs away from the mat. Exhale, push the leg into your hands, pull the hand against the leg. So you're working a little bit of resistance against the movement. Left leg has a tendency towards switching off. Press down into the foot and re-energize the inner thighs. Stage 2 of this. Rotate the leg out to the side. So think straddle position. Bring the knee towards the underarm, but without letting the pelvis tip over. And begin to work that leg out to the side. Perhaps the hand is coming down to support the knee. Now, if this feels like it's too much, think about this almost like a dead bug variation of bridge. So shin is moving upright, or you can work into that leg extension. Press down actively into your left foot. Again, the tricky part, bend that leg, bring the leg back in, and then set the foot down to the floor. Actively push into that right foot. Inhale, bring the left knee up into your chest. Hold on to the thigh and draw the knee in close to the ribs. Exhale, gradually work that leg straighter. Inhale, press into your right foot, so strength connection through that foundation leg. Exhale, relax shoulders, but brace the left leg up against your arms. Stage 2, turn that leg out to the side. So you're rotating the knee, so the leg is going towards like a 10 o'clock position if it was at 12 before. Leg is coming out to the side, perhaps the hand supports the thigh, maybe it supports the knee. Actively working towards straightening the leg. It doesn't need to straighten right now. Now usually back collapses down. Inhale to lift the breastbone up away from the ground, press down into your right foot. Now it's a heavy leg, so you may need to bend it to give it a little bit more support, but recruit through your right leg in a big way. Release that leg. Bring the knee back in, set the foot down to the floor. Press into both feet, and then slowly begin to lower down. Dead bug. So we've done them individually. Bring the knees up towards your chest. Arms are to the inside, but hold the outside edges of the feet. Press the feet up into the hands, and then actively press down through your pelvis. Tuck the chin, so you feel the back of the neck pressing down towards the floor. Now usually, if the feet are pressing up actively and the pelvis is pressing down, the back of the leg should be speaking to you. So think about this like a malasana squat kind of a deal. As your comfort level dictates, perhaps starting to work the legs straighter as you pursue that straddle. Now you may find that the legs can straighten a little bit more. If it comes at the cost of your pelvis, that's that back rounding we were speaking about. See if the facility is there without the pelvis lifting off the mat. So press pelvis down as you navigate the mobility here. You may find working one leg at a time is less arduous than doing both legs simultaneously. Give yourself a couple of moments just to work and navigate here to see what feels relevant for you. Alright, bring the legs back in, set the feet down, roll to your left, and then use your arms to come up from the ground. Once you're upright, use the left hand to bring your head up. Come back into that Baddha Konasana. So here you've been doing a lot of different things, pelvic tilts, all these different mobilities. Use your hands on your ankles or onto the feet or in front of you, and feel for using your musculature to widen the knees, but lift the chest up. Move into a Baddha Konasana forward bend, whatever that means for you. It may be hands behind, and maybe arms forwards. Inhale to lift and lengthen low front ribs. Exhale, tuck the chin to lengthen the back of the neck. Bring back that breath that speaks to low belly. Come on up. So here we've worked seated straddle a little. We've worked supine, quite a few different angles of how the thighs are speaking to the pelvis. Next one I would work is like the standing straddle. In standing straddle, if there's the advice I could give you that I wish I could give myself 10 years ago, bend your legs. So what happened when I was learning straddle, similar to when I was seated, is I would be in this place. The pelvis is still pretty much pointing down, so from standing, it would go to here. Because all this stuff here was so tight that the pelvis couldn't actually move into this anterior tilt that we're looking for. Then I would reach forwards and my back was getting rounder, I was getting some kind of a stretch in my lower back, and I was thinking, yes, great, what has led to is massive problems in the lower back. When the legs bend, watch the pelvis. When the legs bend, there can then be usually an articulation in the pelvis, allowing me to move towards this flatter back positioning. So I would prefer to see people working with the legs bent, lengthening and recruiting their back muscles, rather than this like really rounded position. So from where you are, take your feet so about 2-3 feet apart. Feet are parallel, but then angle the toes slightly inwards. Bring the hands onto the hips and bend the legs. So your aim is to bend the legs and kind of stick your butt out enough that you feel the front of your pelvis is folding over where your hands are. Bring the forearms down onto the legs. So in this plane, inhale to scoop the chest forwards. Exhale, stick your ass out. That's going to be a big part of what we're looking for. Shift the weight towards the ball of the foot and bring the hands down. If you're getting a stretch in the back of the legs here, great. If you're not, work a little bit further down so the chest is coming down. If you're thinking back is long, tuck the chin so the neck is lengthened. As your mobility dictates, some of you might be working this with the legs a little bit straighter, but just be very attentive to the lower back. Wherever you are, inhale, lengthen the ribcage forwards. Exhale, pull belly muscles in, point sit bones up, and fold in towards the leg a little bit more. So periodically coming out and doing that articulation before going back in. So especially after a few breaths, that can be a useful strategy. As your flexibility changes, some of you reaching the arms through the legs might give you a different level of purchase where you can use your biceps to actually speak to your back in a different way. Just being attentive that you're not trying to climb into your butt instead lengthening the chest downwards. Inhale, come up from there, lift into that half lift. Exhale, bend the legs, bring the forearms back onto the legs, point your butt to the back of the room, coming into that flat back. From here, bring the shoulders up above the pelvis and then drive the legs straight. Heel toe the feet towards each other. Have a little bit of a seat. Come into straddle. So like I said earlier, rather than seeing that perhaps already we've made it and we're in straddle, it's going to be fabulous, it's more about feeling like the parts that were tight, have we moved them, have we spoken to them differently, and how does this feel as we navigate in? Toes are pointing up. Use your hands behind you, not to move your ass out of the way, which is a really weird thing that loads of people do. Stick your butt out and inhale to lift chest. Exhale, press forwards. Similar strategy to earlier, bending the knees may give you the purchase you need. Those of you that are hypermobile, if your heels are off the floor, go ahead and put them down. You don't need to do that. Engage your quadriceps and feel if you can get that butt sticking out you did during the standing. Now being here and being upright, even like completely upright, is already more work for your spine, pelvis and hips than like how it's gone so far. So be there. More flexible day, arms might be coming forwards. And instead of head coming down, you're thinking abdomen is coming down. Inhale to lift low front ribs up. Exhale, articulate into the pelvis, pointing the sit bones to the back of the mat, tucking the chin so the back of the neck is long. Reach out through the ball of the foot so the toes are spreading, heels are contracting towards the back of the knees. This might help you engage into your legs a little bit more. So simply paying attention, not necessarily feeling for your absolute maximum depth. Are you engaged, or is it all like floppy, loosey-goosey? No offense if you're called Lucy. Inhale, come on up. Use your hands to bring the legs in and shift into more of a cross-legged position. Now, when I started out doing a lot of straddle work, I would sometimes feel like an irritation coming into the insides of the knees. It is important as you do straddle that you are not massively torquing the knees or overstretching them. So I recommend that you're balancing this out with a good amount of standing poses. You're not in a rush to get to straddle. Nobody's gonna be like, oh my god, amazing, like look at you girl. Like it's not gonna happen, alright? So take your time. If you start to feel any irritation in the knees, back off from a straddle practice, put in a little bit more conditioning. My best advice would be cycling. It's gonna be good for your knees. Building up the strength there, something that's not impactful for the knees. Enjoy doing these things. If these strategies have been helpful for you, drop it into the comments below. If there's anything else you want to see, put it in there and I will do my best to attend to them.